CBS Los Angeles, the LA County District Attorney's Office reported that Francisco Garcia, a 21-year-old Army veteran who has served in Afghanistan, who had just returned from serving in Afghanistan, was leaving a party with his friends early Sunday morning on November 9, 2014, where he was targeted and fatally shot to death. Vincent Estrada, a suspect, has a bail over $2 million, and if he is found guilty, he would serve life in state prison. How can someone who chose to serve our country and put his life in danger get killed the second he gets home? Where's his respect in this cruel world? Why should the killer live if the victim never had a choice? This is one of the saddest ways to pass away for someone who chose to fight for our country. This is just justice, something much more than life in prison, something like capital punishment. Capital punishment is death penalty, where it is brought to believe that it plays an important role in the in the criminal justice system. No one wants to live in a world where they're afraid to step outside because of the possibilities of such dangerous criminals that can be set free. Most death penalty cases include the executions of murderers, although it can also be applied to other crimes. This tragic death of this veteran happened right in front of my house, literally. It is not the first time I witnessed something like this. I want to live in a place where you don't hear gunshots. It is not that I'm scared, it is just more about not living around negativity. Death penalty should be the best punishment for all dangerous criminals. First, I will talk to you guys about this correlation to the crime rate. Second, how it can help the government financially. And last, how it can provide a safe environment for all of us. But first, let's talk about how it preserves law and order. Having such tool as death penalty will only reduce the crimes occurring each year. Crimes will always be an issue in this world. Why not find a way to diminish such never-ending cases? Of course, this does not apply to all cases, only to horrific crimes such as mass murders and serial rapists. Based on the Journal of Criminology, published on spring 2009 by Varela, Michael refers to Michael Summers, a professor of management of science at Pepperdine University. Summers states in the Wall Street Journal that each execution carried out is correlated with about 74 fewer murders the following year. In support with the quote of a professor at economics at Emory University, Paul Rubin quotes, "We expect criminals and potential criminals to respond to sanctions, and execution is the most severe sanction available. If we do not have death penalty in our government, it would only increase the rate of crimes occurring each year." In support of an article titled, "Does the Death Penalty Reduce Crime?" by a PhD student named Enrique Rubin, states that research shows that the higher rates of homicide were found in 91% of the states that suspended death penalty. On death penalty pros and cons, an online organization founded in 2001 states that 1,888 people were executed in the U.S. from 1977 to 2009. Execution acts as to restrain and provides justice for the murdered victims and their loved ones. If you all support capital punishment for the sake of ending the continuation of such never-ending cases. Now we can take a look at how it can improve expenses. It is brought into account that the action of execution costs less than life in prison. Having multiples of dangerous criminals sent to prison only adds up to the problem of overpopulation in the prison system, along with the excessive costs in providing for them. Life in jail excels to the cost of death penalty because life in prison means having to provide inmates with food, basic necessities, and overall taking care of them for the rest of their life. Some of you may argue that death penalty is much more longer trials and much more preparation, and that it is much more complicated, not taking into consideration that the cost is being built up by the more years one spent in jail. Nowadays, it is very common for crimes to be committed by young adults. On November 2002, an article titled "Life in Prison is Costlier Than Death Penalty," published in the USA Today newspaper, uses an example of a 72-year-old killer whose overall cost was $25,000 per year to jail him. Now, with the lifespan around 72 years, adds up to his life sentence being $1.8 million. Why instead of spending money on prisoners, the government should be funding money on something much more beneficial, something like education. This only affects the department's budget. And whereas if death penalty was used right away after the conviction, there would be no housing costs. Based on an article published on February 28, 2014, Philip Hodge states that the Governor Jerry Brown has affirmed 82% of parole board decisions, resulting in a record number of inmates with life sentences being set free. all these releases are very injustice for the victims. According to New York Daily News, on 2008, a man named Vince Lee, a man named Vince Lee, on a Greyhound bus in Canada, he took out a knife and he beheaded the guy sitting next to him named Tim McLean. This guy chopped off McLean's heads off. Can you guys imagine that, seeing that on the bus? Isn't that pretty scary? But wait, there's more. Vince Lee began to eat parts of the guy's head, and once the police arrived to the scene, he helped with the guy's head and put it next to the window. Vince Lee, according to Vince Lee, he was on the lookout for aliens because he would hear God's voice repeatedly telling him that Tim McLean was an alien and that he needed to destroy him. Tim Lee was found not criminally responsible for this crime and was sent to a mental institute. It is expected for him to gain more freedom each year. In fact, and 4 years after, in 2012, he was allowed to go on supervised outings. Do you guys want a psychopath like this to be set free? Right? No, right? Now we discussed a few facts about death penalty. We can get an eye-opener of how it can provide safety for all of us. Living in a society where leaving your house alone at night is life-threatening is not the type of life that anyone would like to live. Going forward with death penalty would not only give less worry and fear to society of wondering if such criminals can be set free. According to an online article by Joe Misterly titled "Should the Death Penalty Be Banned as a Form of Punishment?" Joe states our justice system is set up to give more sympathy to criminals than for victims. Prisoner parole. How can someone who murdered 1 to 3 people, or even just raped and killed innocent girls, be enjoying life like the rest of us? No, crimes like that deserve justice. Not only will it be beneficial for our safety, it would also give true measure of justice for people who had to face the presence of such cruel criminals. Said anonymously on debate.org, someone said, "It is not like we execute people who shoplift. We execute people who rape and murder and commit unthinkable crimes. I will pay to make sure my family and I are safe." I'm sure you guys can all agree when it comes down to protecting ourselves, not only ourselves, but our family. Why make this any more complicated? Let's engage with the proposition of death penalty. I informed you all of how it prevents crimes and how it is less than life in prison, and how it can be used as a shield to protect our society. We all have said it once. We placed our right hand over our heart and said the Pledge of Allegiance. Do you guys remember the last part where it says justice for all? Where is that life being placed in our government?